Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS. I'm Mega31, going to be breaking down the 9-game slate for Monday, July 5th. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. DFS-wise, we had a great 4th of July. Lots of you who watched the video yesterday left us some comments and sent me some PMs on Twitter that did really well. San Diego stack went off. Machado, low own, 2 home runs. Twins came through too. So a lot of good day there. NASCAR went well also. Tied with a bunch of people, took down a FanDuel GPP, did okay on DK. So it was a great day yesterday, and let's just keep it rolling. Whether you're off today or whether you're back to work, let's get into some baseball here. So there is a 2-game slate at 6:05. It is the Giants and the Cardinals and the Marlins and the Dodgers. So if you're playing that slate, I'm not going to do a separate video for you, but I'll just give you some advice here. I think it's a pretty simple build. You want to take Buehler and Gausman as your pitchers. Pretty clear there. The Marlins pitcher is decent, so if you want to, that would be a contrarian move to do that. But then I'm taking Giants bats. Posey is day-to-day, so if he's not in, Casale is a great play at catcher. I like Ruff. I think he had a home run yesterday. Estrada's dirt cheap. I think he's 2K if he's in the lineup still. And then Slater. And I think, if you take those 4 and maybe even a 5th one because Kim is the worst pitcher on the slate, then just fill in the rest with Dodgers. And that leaves you plenty of salary and plenty of opportunity to do that. And you might not even use your whole salary. So that's what the build will be. Bauer, Gausman, Casale, Ruff, Slater, Estrada, if they all are in. Pick a 5th guy from the San Francisco, and then put the rest in as Dodgers. Nice thing about DK, it's a secret that some people don't know, is on FanDuel, you at least have to have 3 teams, and DK, you don't. You can play 2 teams as long as they're in 2 different games, and you're fine with your build. So let's move on to the evening slate. So good news and bad news here. Good news is pitching is pretty easy. There's only really 4 options that you have, in my opinion. There's some other guys you might be able to mix in. We'll talk about them. But the hard part is there's so many good bats. And we talked about this a couple slates ago too, where it's the same thing. You had limited pitching options. I think it was maybe Saturday slate with when Kershaw was there, and you had like a clear SP2. So you pretty much locked those in. And then I just said, just keep on rotating the stack. So we'll go through everything. We'll go through all the great hitting situations that are there tonight, and that's probably some of it's weather conditions, and the other is that we just don't have really good pitchers, so we have got a lot of great opportunities to take care of for hitting. So I'll give you at least 3 examples of builds that you can make with the pitchers, and then the rest of them just same formula, just kind of throw in a stack of 5 and then fill in the other 3 spots or 2 spots, if you're punting catcher, which I usually do, and then it just leaves 2 spots plus the stack, unless the catcher's part of the build, and there's a couple of those we'll get to also. So just going to go game by game. Not going to break down pitchers and stacks. We'll just integrate that all in there, and then at the end, I will give you some lineup builds. So, and the nice thing too, no weather concerns that I see right now. Well, first game is Atlanta and Pittsburgh. You have Max Fried against Chase DeJong. Max Fried is going to be the SP2 tonight. He is in a good matchup here. I know it's a low K matchup, but that's fine. Pittsburgh just really doesn't have power, doesn't put up runs. The park is a good factor there. He's got probably the best floor for your SP2, so he's the one that I like there. Chase DeYoung, not interested in him. He's bad against both sides of the plate. So the Braves make a good stack. They're a little bit expensive. So we'll get that when I get to build. So I'm okay. It's really hard with the pitchers. I'm going to recommend getting 1 through 5 in. So you're going to have to drop probably either Riley or Swanson and then pick up Heredia. If he bats 6 at 2.5, that makes it work really well. Like I said, we'll get to that. Pittsburgh, absolutely no interest, not even contrarian GPP. So moving on. Next game, we have the Milwaukee Brewers and the New York Mets. Brandon Woodruff. Well, here we are already. My SP1. Up against the Mets. Yes, they're back. Yes, they're healthier. Yes, they're in first place, but they only have 3.39 total. Woodruff is the top pitcher. He's having a great season. Doesn't seem like the sticky stuff has affected him. And he has a little bit of K upside here too. So just locking him in SP1 10-4 is very reasonable price. Miguel on the other side, 7-2, a little bit expensive. The Brewers, they haven't been doing bad recently. They've actually been putting up some runs, but they do have a lot of K upside. So if you want to go in a tournament and get off some chalk or chalky Freed, and you want to go Miguel, then I'm okay with that. I don't think he's horrible. Milwaukee, I think, is a decent stack if you want to, especially the lefties. Yelich, I might skip him. Like 5-6 is so much, but Adames, like, I don't know, they're so high priced here. It's like they're almost in a Coors Field or something. Like McGill is not that great of a pitcher. The Mets ballpark is not that great of a hitting situation. So I think if you want to stack the Brewers, you're fine here. But other than that, they don't even make like my top 8 stacks here on this slate. The Mets, on the other hand, not really interested, not even contrarian. If you want to, and you think, Woodruff, like, get the blister or something, or ate some bad fish before the game and only makes it 1 inning, gets stomach ache or toothache or whatever might happen in baseball, or that's fine. Load up on the lefties here. Again, Nemo, Lindor, switch hitter, Smith, Conforto, McNeil. It would definitely be a YOLO contrarian stack, only $1, but not really recommending it as a play today. They have one of the lowest totals on the slate. Next game is Cleveland and Tampa Bay. Logan Allen, he's another one you can kind of speculate. He's gone 5 innings early on, had some success. He does have some K upside. Tampa Bay is one of the teams that strikes out the most in Major League Baseball, but he might only go like 2 to 3 innings. So, but at 4.8, if you're trying to play some of these higher price bats and go like a 4-4 stack or a 5-3 stack with some higher bats, you might need his salary to do that. Again, GPP only. This is not a cash play. Logan Allen, you can do worse, but just don't expect him to go very far. Tampa Bay can be a good hitting team, or they could strike out, so it could go either way there. Rich Hill on the other side, 9-1, not going to touch that. Way too expensive. Even Cleveland, even if Jose Ramirez is out, even though Cleveland hasn't been anything special beyond him, Franmil Reyes is back at 3-2. I mean, he's a great price there against Rich Hill for only, you have the splits advantage there. So that's something to look at. Tampa Bay, I can see they're probably my favorite cheap stack. If you take like Arizona out of there, if you look at some of the rest of them there, righty lefty matchup, Margot leading off at 3-9, Diaz 3-8. They're pretty reasonable. Besides, Arezzo and Franco there in the 5K range, but Zunino 4-4 for catchers, more than I want to pay, but he's got good power against lefties. So. And Taylor Wall's somebody that I have in some of my builds because he has the splits advantage. He's not a great player, but he's minimum price at shortstop, and that's a hard position to fill in this on this slate. So, like I said, not interested in these pitchers, but Allen is a decent punt if you want to take the risk in GPPs. I'm looking more at one-offs from Cleveland, like just Reyes pretty much. There's some cheap guys if you need to fill in a stack. Tampa Bay, same thing. I'm looking more for cheap fill-ins and actually playing them with the totals on the rest of the slate. Tampa Bay does have 5 totals, so they are viable. They could probably be low owned. Next game up is the Chicago White Sox and the Minnesota Twins. Dylan Cease is pitching. I think he'd be a contrarian option off Woodruff. Woodruff is clearly the SP1, but if you want to get some leverage in case something happens with Woodruff, I think he works, especially you really want to look at the Twins lineup. They've been banged up recently. Nelson Cruz was scratched late. They get like a neck stiffness or something. If he's still out of the lineup, there's, not a scary Twin lineup. Donaldson, I think, is still out of the lineup also. So if they're missing some of those big bats, then, you could roll out Cisse here. Uber on the other side, it's the same situation. He has had some good games. He's had some bad games. The White Sox did get to him in a start recently, but I think he'd be my favorite, like, low price pitcher at 6'4". If the White Sox roll out a lineup that's really banged up with a lot of guys missing still due to injury. So just check the lineups before you consider these pitchers. I really wouldn't say that they're cash plays, but I think they're good pivot options off of some of the other cash playable players here. I think Cisse would be borderline cash. I think he's okay. I wouldn't pay up for Woodruff and Cisse. I'd take one of the medium range guys, Fried, or another guy that we'll get to later on. But if you want to drop down from Woodruff to get some more bats in your lineup, I can see doing that, especially, like I said, if the Minnesota lineup is a little bit watered down. Speaking of these lineups, I think Chicago, I really like the lefties. Ober's really struggled with them. So, Moncada, Grandal, if he's back in the lineup. Goodwin just continues to be way too cheap at 3-1. You have like Sheets at 2-6, depending on where he bats in the lineup. So there are some options here. Minnesota on the other side, same thing. There's lefties. They're really cheap. Like Larnish batting second at 2-7. Like he fits some builds really good. Most of the rest of the guys are only around like the high 3Ks. Polanco at 4-3. If Cruz is out of the lineup, it's definitely a stack that you could take for leverage if you think people are going to play Cisse. If he's going to have high ownership, then the Twins against him, if he does struggle, are going to be low owned and to be great for a tournament there. Our next game would be Detroit Tigers and Texas Rangers. We have Willie Peralta and Kobe Allard. I like Allard as a pitcher, but he's way too expensive here. I know it's against Detroit, but I'm out at 7-9. I'd rather play Fried or another guy in the 7K range. So not interested here. If it's like a later slate or something, and you don't have Fried available, like if you're playing like the turbo slate or something like that, then maybe. Not interested in Peralta. The Tigers, there's definitely some bats here that you could take. Like Shoop is so expensive at 5-6, but he's having a decent season. Haas, if you want to pay up a catcher, you've got a lot of righties here against a lefty and Allard. So I'd take some one-off pieces here. I wouldn't necessarily stack them unless it's $1 GPP or below that if you're playing like in the dimes or the quarters or anything like that. Texas, the same thing. I'd just take the power lefties here against Peralta, Lowe, Nate, Gallo. Heim is a switch hitting catcher at 2.5, so that's a really good price if you want to make a punt hitting 5th in the order. So definitely that's where I would go with that. The next game is, I think it's going to be a very popular one if the weather holds true. You have winds blowing out at Wrigley Field from 14 to 18 miles per hour. So I think that both pitchers are definitely out here. Matt Moore he was great when he played for, I think it was Tampa Bay about like 5-6 years ago, but recently horrible. And Zach Davies is not a great pitcher either. I don't see either one of these pitchers getting above 12 DK points. So not interested at all here, especially with this weather conditions. I think the Phillies might be one of the top stacks on the slate. They're number 2 for me, especially with the wind, especially with the pricing. You have like Herrera at 3.5 and Segura at 3.2, and Real Muto is already down at 3.8. Harper's the only really expensive one at 5.3. Like everybody else, and Hoskins at 5.3. Everybody else is like below 4K. So it's a great stack. It fits in really nicely with the pitchers I'm recommending. It gets you some other nice one-offs. So I definitely like that. Chicago on the other side, I think they're more of a GPP. They'd probably be my favorite GPP stack just because they really have been hitting too well recently. They do get a lefty, so I think, Contreras, if you want to pay up for catcher, would be the number one. I think he would be very popular there. I'm going to probably fade that and pay down at catcher to get some other bats in some other situations, but I don't hate it at all. Bryant, Baez, Moore's probably not going to go too deep in the game, so if you want to play Rizzo, that's fine. Wisdom, he's already all the way up to 5.9, but he's just having like the season like Bote had a couple of years ago where he's just like that third baseman power hitter that's doing really well early on in his career. So I don't struggle with the Cubs stack, but I definitely prefer the Phillies much better. Next game up is the Cincinnati Reds and the Kansas City Royals. You have Vladimir Gutierrez and Mike Minor. And Gutierrez, I can see playing him in spots. I know KC has been hit or miss here. It's going to be very, very hot there. It's going to be 87 degrees, so I'm really not too interested in Gutierrez. I could play him as a punt, but again, you're only playing a couple hundred more to get Fried. So I really can't see that there, especially starting to get some bats back in this KC lineup. Like Benintendi is back in the lineup. You know, they're still waiting on their shortstop to get healed, but you know, definitely KC has been doing okay recently. They actually have a 5.13 total, so I'm not really interested here. Mike Minor's been struggling on their side, so I like bats on either side of it. They're not neither one is my favorite. Cincinnati, I would like against Minor, especially the righties like India, Castellanos, Stevenson is another catcher that you could pay up for. Be probably contrarian to Contreras, about the same price range. Aquino, pinch hit risk maybe, but Suarez even seems to be rounding out. So there's a lot of great bats in the Cincinnati. They're just pretty expensive, so they'd be my number 4 stack. In my top rated stacks today. Kansas City, I think, would be a nice value stack besides Mayerfield. Benintendi is only 3.6. Carlos Santana at 4.4. Perez is a little expensive for catcher. I probably would skip him there. But this lower part of the lineup really works. Like Ahern, Soler, Dozier, Taylor continues to. He had a really good series against Boston, but he's probably like going to be a single point guy at 2.4 for an outfield spot, but he does have some upside there. Nicky Lopez. So there are some cheap options as like maybe a secondary cheap stack if you're trying to get some expensive one here. If you wanted to do like a 6, 7, 8 or 7, 8, 9 here. So don't rule them out. They have a 5.13 total, which I think is a little bit high. I don't think Gutierrez is that bad of a pitcher. So if you're betting, if the total is still that high, I'd probably take the under on it because I don't think that Kansas City is going to quite get there. They're also a negative 120 favorite. So I might also bet that also because I think Cincinnati is going to win this game, not Kansas City. Okay, next game up has a beautiful 10 total. You have 2 pitchers that are a little bit suspect, Martin Perez and Jose Suarez. Like Suarez has been doing decent recently, but he might only get like 60, 65, maybe 75 max pitches, and he's 8.2, so he's too expensive. I think these Boston righties like are nothing like he's faced really yet in his young career. So there's a 5 total on each side. Boston is a slight favorite at a negative 113. The Angels are a negative 106. So I think this is going to be a day of a lot of offense, wind blowing out about 8 miles per hour, 80 degrees. So it's not like super blazing hot, but I think, you know, I like the bats on both sides here. Boston righties would be my favorite. And then on the Angels side, you can probably take the righties, but Ohtani, he just seems to be matchup proof. I'd take him also. So I think both of them would be GPP stacks that I like. I think I'd favor the Boston righties here over the Angels, but either one of them are good plays. Like I said, there's so many great bat plays tonight. Final game we have is Washington Nationals and the San Diego Padres. Here is the other option maybe for an SP2, Joe Musgrove. He's 8.7, so he's more expensive than Fried is at 8.5. I apologize earlier. I said like guys at 7K. I forgot that Fried was up at 8K for this one. He's been 7K before. So, but anyways, he's only $200 more than Fried. Fried has a better matchup, but if you want to get off the chalk of probably everybody playing Woodruff and Fried because it really isn't that great of pitcher options here, then Musgrove is a good pivot here against Washington, who's been banged up, especially if Turner's still out of the lineup. Schwarber's on the IL. He hit so many home runs. He hurt his hamstring. So hopefully he's back because he was just having an incredible season. Hopefully he continues on that tear. It's just exciting to watch him just go yard after yard after yard. But really here, like Soto is the only one to line up, maybe Bell that you really have to worry about. That's a righty on righty matchup. So, you know, he gets a watered down team here. Washington doesn't strike out a lot, but like the lineup and the par factor is good. So I think Musgrove has some solid floor here. Lester on the other side, no way. No way. Not even being contrarian, don't being cute. It's not going to work. He has been horrible against righties. He's okay still against lefties. So San Diego is definitely my favorite stack on the slate here. Pham, Tatis, Machado, Myers, if we throw in Profar. Caratini as a catcher at 3-1. I probably would avoid playing lefties here, but I think if Lester doesn't last that long, then if you want to throw in Cronenworth or Grissom or Hosmer, wherever they fit in your stack, they're fine. But I think they're a little bit expensive. I'd rather just take the 4 guys that are like really expensive and then fill in with some mid-range plays instead of trying to take that 5th guy and just have an absolute like scraps for the bottom. So again, let me just kind of recap. My favorite pitchers tonight would be Woodruff. Cisse is a pivot off him. Hill maybe as a GPP in cash, but way too expensive, and I don't like the matchup. Medium range, Freedom locking in as my SP2. Musgrove is a great pivot off that. Suarez would be the only other one I consider, but he's probably not going that deep, and the Boston righties could really take him to town. On the low end, Uber, I think, is a good option, but you get it based on how the Chicago White Sox lineup comes out. McGill from the Mets, because Milwaukee has struggled at times, and he does have some K upside. And then if you want a true YOLO punt, it would be Allen. Might only get 2 to 3 innings, but his K potential is very good. For my stacks, top stack would be San Diego. Philadelphia, with the wind blowing out, would be number 2. Atlanta, very pricey, but number 3. And Cincinnati, number 4 against Mike Minor. GPP stacks, top ones would be the Cubs, only because they've struggled a little bit lately, but hopefully the wind will help them. Boston righties, Chicago White Sox lefties, and then the Angels. And then for the cheap ones, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Minnesota as a leverage stack, and Kansas City. But with those cheap stacks, I might just be taking pieces and not full ones. So let's look at roster construction. So the first one I'm going to go with is the San Diego one. So if I put in Max Fried and Woodruff and I take Roberto Perez from Cleveland, 2K catcher, if he's in the lineup, has the splits advantage. If not, you might have to go up to, like I said, there's some guys at 2-3, 2-4, even Heim 2-5 switch hitting. But the nice thing is that this Cleveland game is a little bit, is it earlier? So you should have the lineup by lock. Yeah, it's a 7-10. So you'll definitely have lineup. So you'll know if Perez is in or not. If he isn't, then I think you might need to earmark the 2-5 for the Rangers guy, or there's just some other good options, many good options, lower catcher, or you can pay up. But with the San Diego team, you're not going to be able to pay up too much here. So San Diego, if you have $4,157 per player left. If you take the core of Machado, Tatis, Myers, and Pham, like I said, if Profile, there's another cheap righty in there too, maybe in Caratini as your catcher. If you can get up to 3-1, that's fine. But it only leaves you 2,900 left for first, second, and outfield if you take those 4. And there are some good options. That you have Dahlbeck, Miller, if might make the lineup if I think there were a couple Phillies guys that were questionable, and he's pretty cheap at first base. Segura is another one with the wind blowing out that would be reasonably priced at second base, or Fletcher just continues to hit. So for the Angels, like him there. Outfield, you've got some great cheap options. You have Marisnik, who's batting maybe 6 for the Cubs or whatever, has the splits advantage. Larnish at 2.7. Heredia is really cheap for Atlanta in a good matchup. White for Texas might be leading off, and then M. Taylor for KC if you need a punt. There's probably some 2K guys. Just look at the lineup, see when things come out, see if you have a split advantage, and so that's the San Diego build. The second favorite build, like I said, is getting the Phillies in here. They make it a little bit easier. I think I would put Real Muto in as catcher. I know he struggled a lot recently, but he had a home run yesterday. Hoskins, Segura, Harper, and then Heredia. Or not Heredia, he's not on that team. McCutchen. If McCutchen's not in, then see who they have. If somebody's like hitting up higher in the order and is cheap, then I definitely go there on that team to continue the stack. I'd skip DJ Gregorius, like even being a Yankees fan, like I think he's not been really, I liked him when he was on the Yankees, but he just hasn't been good recently. So I would just maybe only go to the 4-man if you can't find the 5th Philly that you like there, or take somebody from the Cubs. But you can actually get a mini Brave stack in here. You can get like a Kansas City stack in. You have a third base, shortstop, and outfield left. And I think there's some really good options there, like especially at third base. You have like Arenas leading off for Minnesota. I know he's against CC, but he's a good contact hitter. Diaz from Tampa Bay, Hunter Dozier, Brucheu. He's a righty against a lefty for Tampa Bay. Sometimes he hits up higher in the lineup, and he's got some power there. So you have some options. And shortstops, one like Walls and Escobar, I think, are both 2K punts that you can throw out there. Like shortstop is one that I'm really not looking too favorably on. It's usually either pay up or just completely punt that and get some better position players at other areas. The final one that I will look at is the Atlanta stack, which again is kind of expensive. So we have Fried, Woodruff, and Perez at catcher if he's in, and then Freeman, Albies, and Acuna. And then you have to really pick between Riley or Swanson. I think I'm going to take Riley because, like I said, I'm just going to punt shortstop at 2K. And then that leaves me, I think, about 2,900 left for outfield. So there's some good options there. And again, like I'd take Heredia or Almonte as the fifth one just to complete the stack. So thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful to you. I think, again, what you're really going to do tonight is lock in your of those four pitchers. Woodruff Fried would be my favorite, but Cisse Musgrove mixed in, and then just rotate your stacks in if you're playing multiple lineups in cash. Like I said, I'd just pick San Diego, I'd pick Philly, or I'd pick Atlanta, and then hopefully some of these value plays will just seal the deal for you, and we'll have another good night. So thanks for watching. Leave some comments below if you have any questions on the video or any way we can help you. Reach out to me on Twitter at MegRuler31. Subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos come out, and if you can please give us a like. That if we helped you out, that helps us out because it gets our video out to more people, and that's what we're trying to do. So thanks again for watching. MegRuler31 out.